How's it going, internets? I hope you're having a lovely day. It's that time again. It's time to get into some animation, time to get that imagination all cranked up, get into some creativity, and it's time to get inspired. And today's inspiration comes from Val Mayerik. And if you're not familiar with his work, check right over here. Making sure I'm pointing in the right way. Got a little bit of different layout today, so sorry about that. Get the background working a little bit more. But he's a wonderful artist. I really love his stuff. I think he's got a great mastery of anatomy and really great silhouettes and great posing. He was one of the founders, I believe, of Howard the Duck fame. Great comic as well, so check that out. I'll throw a link in the description below for more stuff on him, but let's take a look at a couple more great images from him. I really like this stuff. Any of the kind of Frazetta feel or Tarzan feel, that aesthetic of Conan and all that always draws my eye. I just think there's really great, powerful posing in that art, and as you can see, great silhouette here as well. And I'm always a huge fan of the light watercolor throughout. So just more stuff. This is a great anatomy here, and again, great posing, getting all four of the horse's legs in silhouette, and the tail that flow throughout there. Great wings as well. Wings are difficult. I have a tough time doing wing stuff. I don't think I can do those too well just yet. A great pose here. Wonderful stuff. So I urge you guys to go check out more stuff from him. He's got a couple great comic book series. Look how fun those characters are. Just great stuff. But I did want to share a quote that I was able to find from him. And he said, planning and solving problems ahead of time. I try to do that as often as I can. Sometimes I just take a chance. I think that's great because there's two aspects to that. And the first one is the try and do as much of the creative work as you can before you even sit down and create. That being, try and think about how you're going to lay out your shot if you're doing animation, or kind of how the composition is going to work if you're doing illustration, or kind of if you're a musician, try and think of like maybe the hook and like hum it to yourself, and just try to get that imagination and thinking through what you want to have accomplished as much as you can before you even sit down. Just kind of a weird thing, but I always do that while I'm getting ready for the day, brushing my teeth and washing my hair. Yeah. But while I'm doing all those early morning things, I try to get my brain working and thinking about all the different ways I want to approach. Usually, for some reason, it'll be one specific aspect of my workday that I'll really be thinking about. And then I try to break that down as much as I can, like get into how do I want to do the fingers, or how do I want to do the toes, or how do I want to, what perspective do I want to do? Do as much of that as I can before I even hit the desk. And that tends to be when I can get some really great stuff, and I have to do less thumbnails and everything too. But also sometimes it's fun to just plop down and see what comes out. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into some animation. This is the Cavalry rig, available at cadnow.com. I'll throw a link in the description below if you guys want to try this rig out for yourself. And if you're not familiar with what we'll be doing for today's video, we're going to go back to kind of what we were doing a few weeks ago, at least with this one. And that was, I go off and I find a rig that I've never used before. It's a free resource for you guys to play around with as well. And we kind of go from there. A little bit of over the shoulder, just hang out with me while I animate, a little bit of talking through the process. But the main goal of doing these videos each and every day is to hopefully encourage you and inspire you to go off and create your own unique, amazing, wonderful content each and every day, to never give up on your dreams and to take another step in your journey towards mastering whatever medium it is that you're passionate about. So I think I might do this one in two parts, because as you can see, there's the horse character and the warrior on top here. So I think I might do this in two parts, where we do the horse today and then we go on and layer on the character on top of that tomorrow, is I think how I want to break it up. But we'll see. If it goes quickly, maybe we'll try and get both of them in, but it's been a long day already trying to switch to a new place to do recording and everything, and setting everything up here. So I think that's the approach we'll take, but we'll see how the rig works. I did tinker around with it a little bit, just kind of open the file and move a couple things around, and it is a little funky for how it's set up, but I think it's something that we can definitely work through. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, I think I'm gonna turn off I split here. I'll show you what I did here. Wanted a window outliner, and there's these two different sets of controls. So I added each one to a layer. You just hit this little layer button, which I don't know if you can see here because my video's here, but it's right in the corner. I think you can still see my mouse over there. And then just turn the visibility off on that layer there. So we just have the horse controls visible for us today. And let's go ahead and I think this posing is alright. Maybe I'll dip the head down a little bit more. Kind of like the head being a little bit lower and maybe a little bit higher up. Kind of breaks the neck there. So just want to do a little bit different with the posing here. Just so that it's not so default with the pose that we were given. And I think I'll bring the horse down a little bit up here. That's fine. And like I said, we're not going to really approach the human character, at least right now. Maybe if there's time, we'll get into that a little bit more. And let's push that foot back a little bit more. This foot forward. This foot back a little bit more. This foot forward more. Just so it's a little bit wider stance there that we have. And maybe we'll do a little bit of more up on the tail, just so we can kind of play around here a little bit. And like I said, it's a little funky. Oh, it's constrained to look, it's constrained to there. That's kind of funky constraints. Let's see. So we've got this controller here, and then 3 controllers that all pretty much do, which I'm guessing this is supposed to be like a hip, and this is supposed to be like the chest. So maybe that's how we'll treat it. Let's go ahead and start there. Maybe I'll bring these ears down a little bit. Or maybe not here. Maybe like universally just pulling over and down a little bit. And we'll go the same, kind of do a similar thing on this side. Swinging out more. I don't know. It's kind of deforming a little bit there. I'll just keep it something like that. And this is the jaw. I guess it's not really a jaw, it's just kind of the harness there. Okay, that's fine. And if I want to push these down just a little bit, yeah, I think a little bit's fine. This portion of the tail here. So we'll go in a little bit more. This one we'll stick it out. And that one can be a little bit further out there too. Just trying to, like I said, just do a little bit of variation from the default starter pose that we got here. Maybe I'll bring that head up a little bit more here too. That one feels a little too far back, so maybe we'll go something kind of like that. Alright, I think that's an okay place to start with. Maybe we could bring that down. See, but it's not a middle controller, it's just the... I want to do a little bit of sway there, so maybe I'll bring that down and bring this up a little bit. Kind of like to give like a little bit of sway back. I don't know, just kind of an aesthetic thing that I always like. Reminds me of a horse that I was privileged to help take care of, Tally. Great little Frisian horse. And let's turn our grid off here. We'll go ahead and save our file. We are using Autodesk Maya 2014 for today's video. For more information on that and all the stuff we've talked about so far, check out the links in the description below. And let's go ahead and get started once that finishes saving. Remember, it's always good to save multiple versions and to save often. Should we perhaps pull the hips back just a smidge? Feels low there. Alright, so let's go ahead and set our frame range. We're just going to try and do 48 frames here. I think that be about right and just do stuff on 12s. That's fine. So I'll set that. Go to 12. And we're just going to work on doing the feet and the hips for right now. So we'll go 12 frames forward and bring that back. And bring that forward. Let's look at the back here. Actually, let's go ahead and grab these again. It's been a little while since I did a walk. Why am I getting rusty here? Been a couple weeks. So we got those ones working there. Other thing that I was thinking when animating this one, I was wondering if we'd get a little bit of lag just because of how much of detail there's in this character. And there is a teeny bit, but it's definitely manageable for how detailed this character is for sure. I've seen other rigs that are less detailed that are more laggy, so that's always appreciated. And let's push this one back a little bit more. There. And this one back there. Okay. So we've got that. Let's move that up to 12 here. And maybe we'll go 14. We'll see if we want to do 14 frames or 12 frames. It's going to feel better for us. But let's see. Yeah, I think I want to slow it down a little more. So, let's grab everything here, and we'll go Window, Animation Editors, Graph Editor, and pull that up here. And then we're going to want to go 14 frames, so we get 2 more frames per step here. And that'll give us 2 more frames there, which is what, 56 frames, right? And take our last one and push that over a couple frames there too. Alright, so we just slowed it down just slightly, and let's see how that plays here. Alright, and let's look at the up and down here. Go down a little bit there. Up a little bit here. Down a little bit there. Up a little bit here. Down there. Up here. Down here. And up there. And I don't know if I remember this, but this rig was recommended by, I believe, his name was Ken Panchu. Great little guy. He's really active and commenting on a lot of videos, so way to be awesome. Ken Panchu. I'm sorry, I forget. I'm awful with names. But if you guys have a rig that you would like to suggest, or an idea, or anything that you'd like to see here on the channel, definitely throw it down in the comments below, and as long as it's feasible, I'll add it to the list of things people would like to see. I know there's definitely a couple of lip sync ones that I have ideas on that I want to do. It's just about finding the right file, and honestly having some time lately. Haven't had a whole heck of a lot of time to because with lip sync stuff I tend to have to do a little more prep before those start, just finding a file and clipping it down in audio and stuff. But it's definitely in the chamber. I haven't forgotten that you guys really tend to enjoy those lip sync ones, so I'll do one of those where it's got a lot more facial stuff and a lot more lip sync. Alright, it's okay. Good place to start for us. So then we'll go. Let's grab everything and we'll lock in all of our main keys here that we have on these feet. And let's start with these ones so you can get the passing position in. So I'll lift it up here as it's going forward to plant down. Oh, wrong way. I want to do it here. Let's lift it up. And then hold it on the ground. Lift it up here. And I think I'm going to have these ones be right in the middle, and these ones be favor the back but I'm just putting them in there just right now so we get our main idea of where we're going to be going with this. Lift those up here, plant it down, and then lift it up here. I did it again. What am I doing here? Goes up, and this one should go up here. Boy, must be tired today. So let's go back and plant these guys back on the ground here. I don't know what I'm doing there. Delete that. Okay. Hey, let's see. Alright, so let's look at the back steps here. And let's look at our translate Y's. There. Let's balance those out so we've got about equal amount of height there throughout. Doesn't have to be exactly equal, but just more balanced. And let's see. And let's not have the highest one hit until about 4 frames before the contact. So that way it'll go lower and then go there. And these ones, well, let's go ahead and let these steps be a little bit higher, these front steps. So we'll kind of favor the higher extreme that we had in there and still balance them out a little better. And let's put it so that it goes higher a little bit sooner. Actually, I want to kind of invert this. So let's have the high point on these ones hit at 10. And let's have the high point on these ones hit at 5 instead. So I like the front ones staying up a little bit longer. And I still think maybe are a little too high up on those back steps, so let's shorten those down a little bit more. Let's see how we're doing here. And then I also think I want to have translate Z's hit here. Translate Y and Z hit a couple frames sooner. Let's see that. Okay, and this one, again, we have it hit a couple frames sooner here, just so our timing's a little bit different. Bring that forward there, hit that one, there. Okay. Just trying to get that seam to work a little better. Okay, let's watch that. Okay, and we'll stick with that for right now for the feet. Let's focus on the hips and everything right now. Just save our file here real quick, and let's look and push the hips a little bit over the planted foot there, and same over there, over here, and over there, and then back. Let's see how that looks. Okay, and let's rotate it a little bit so it favors the front planted foot there, 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 and we're gonna have to offset the chest for sure. balance those out. Tone down the translate X a little bit more. Still okay with it being a little exaggerated though. Normally I do not that much, but I kind of like a little bit of extra sway here. And we have it on 14, so it's a little bit slower, so it gives us a little more time to get there. Okay, so let's just look at the back, see how it's feeling. Okay. And let's do a little bit of rotate Z there. So we'll lean into that step as well. And back, and let's see how we're doing. Now what's this one? Swinger root. Oh, okay, cool. So we do actually have a real hip. That's nice. Here at the front, and we want to go push the hips a little bit this way, or the chest a little bit that way, and then go 21, a little bit over this way, and then 35, a little bit that way, and 49, a little bit over there, and back to where we started. Let's see how that feels at all. Alright, seems way over the top, so first of all, let's try and clean that up a little bit more. Let's get the rotate Y, have it favor this front planted foot there. This one, favor that side, and over this way, back again, and back to where we started again. Alright, now one thing we're really going to have to do is probably tone down the hip. It feels like it's a little too over the top, so let's look at those rotate Ys on the hip and just scale that back, just so it's not affecting the front so much. Maybe about half of what we have. Let's see how it feels. Alright, and let's look at the neck here. And let's not worry about that just yet. Let's keep working on here. And we'll do a little bit of rotate X there. Here, just kind of keep it focused forward a little bit more, and then back to 0. Alright, everything just feels like it's working, but it's still over the top. So let's just scale the hips and the chest back some. Even this out a little bit more first. Sorry about that. I'm gonna translate, make sure that's all working. Alright, let's go back to where we were. Okay, and let's tone down the rotate Y. There, and we'll just keep playing that little game of how much do we tone down on the front versus how much we tone down on the back until it looks a little more even. Try to get it in a better spot. Let's see. Starting to feel a little better. side view if it's still working. Okay, and now let's look at the neck. So let's do a little bit of rotate. Lie there, try and keep it forward here. A little bit there. A little bit here. There. And back to where I started. There we go. And I think we could probably do a little bit less of that, so there's still some bit of sway in there. So let's bring that back to about a little bit less than. Right, and let's see how we're doing here. All right, coming together. Let's look here. I want to do a little bit of up in the middle, and then down here, up here, down there, up here, down there, up here, down there. Alright, well, it's going to take some work to get that to work. And this will want to bring down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and back again. And this will try to get a little bit more dialed in here. If we do it right, we'll have loosened up the kind of belly area a little bit more so it's not hitting at the same time as the chest and the hips. So let's just look at it now and then see how we want to. Right, let's look here. Even this out a little bit more, and then I think we might need to go in there and repump up the chest a little bit more because it feels a little too neutral right now. So let's see. Let's look at it now. Do a little bit more exaggeration on the front end here. So I'll just take this and give it about 10% more. Let's see. Alright, yeah, let's look at the head. And let's go like 4 here. This is going to hit still every 7 frames, but be a little bit different timing than the rest of the up and down. I might need to invert this, we'll see. Go to 46, go down. What's that, 53? And then back to where we were. Let's see. Okay, it's way over the top, and I think we want to invert it. So let's balance it out a little better, and we'll flip it here. Just to loosen up the head poof a little bit more. So let's see. Alright, let's watch that now. scale that back a little bit more. Let's see how that feels. Alright, and let's look at the actual head. And we'll do that as well. And what do we do? We do this one on 4, so let's have this one hit. Actually, let's move this up to 3, and have this one go on the 4, so it's a frame later. Yeah, just a little bit of ease there. Ease in and out here. And back to where we were. Let's see. Alright, and let's clean that up a little bit more. Again, it doesn't have to be a lot, but just so there's a little bit of give there. Let's see. Alright, now what I wanted to try and do here is take, kind of mimic everything we have with the butt right now, but then maybe delay it a frame here. Oh, where was it? This one? Okay. So this is just going to be kind of an, something that accentuates the movement we already have on the hip controller. But this is specifically like a booty controller here. And then we'll delay it a couple of frames, so it just kind of hits the extreme a couple frames after, but doesn't mess up the movement that we have on the root or the hip controller here. So let's try and clean that up a little bit more. Let's hit that about 2 frames later. And I think I want to play up the rotate Y a little bit more. And play down the rotate, would normally be Z, but it's X in this case here. Feels like that's really a lot there. movement on the tail a little bit more here as we go. There. So I'll have it drag back here. And then drag back that way. Drag back here. Drag back that way. And go back to where we were. Okay, and let's look at the last two portions of the tail. Yeah, we'll swing it a little bit there. And a little bit there. A little bit here. A little bit there. And back to where we were. Alright, now want to have this drag maybe like that. There. So it's still going into that position instead of going the other way there. Let's see if that works for us. Let's watch it from the side view because that's probably what we'll be doing it at. Maybe it should hit its extreme actually about here. So let's look at the rotate Y. So it really swings out, swings back, and swings out. And bring that back to where we were. Let's see how that feels. I feel like it still might be a little too much here. So maybe we'll scale it back a little more. Let's look at this last piece especially. Try and scale that back a little bit more. Get rid of that extraneous frame since we redid our timing a little bit. Okay, let's watch that now. I almost wish they didn't have this extra little piece on there. I think if it didn't, it would work a little better. What if it hit its extreme here instead? See how that would look. Yeah, it might be a little better. And we'll start off in a little bit of a lower place there. And we get a little bit of choppiness in here, so let's watch it in the X-split frame to see if it's still going okay. Yeah, I think it's just my playback that's getting me a little bit of choppiness in there. So like I said, when you get rigs that are more complicated, that have a lot more geometry and stuff, sometimes it gets a little laggy in there. So I think we're getting Alright, so let's get into doing the hooves. And so I'll grab this one, and hopefully we have a little bit of drag or something that we can do here. Okay, good. Do some roll there. Go up a little bit, and then flat. So I'll go right in the middle, and we'll drag it. Go up a little bit on the contact, and then flat. Let's watch that now. Alright, great. It's a nice controller that's on there. That roll works real nice. And it gives a little bit of bend to that leg as well, which is really nice. So I like how that controller works. I think that's a great addition. And go here. Drag that back there. Lift it up again and flatten it out. Alright, now for some reason I feel like this leg works a little better than the other one, so let's grab both of them and compare those rolls together. See if they feel about right. Just want to kind of find a good balance between there. Okay. And let's look at the front legs. I want to approach those a little bit differently. So I want to go about 5 frames in, we'll roll it back, and then about 2 frames before the contact, we'll lift it up. Is that going to feel right? Nah. Let's go. Same frame that we have our main key on, we'll still drag it back there, lift it up here, and flatten it out. I feel like that's a better approach. I'm just going to try and do something kind of goofy there, but I think it's better to try and keep it a little more natural. Back to the beginning, and 2 frames, and we'll flatten that out. And let's look at the other foot here. So we'll go the same 4 frames before contact, and we'll drag it back. Gives us that nice little raised feeling to the hoof there. Lift it up here, and that's probably a bit too much lift, but we'll scale it back in a moment. I'm okay with a little bit more on the back legs than the front legs, but I like that raise. I feel like that works pretty well. It's a nice little pose there. I'll flatten that out. So let's see. Balance out how those foot rolls work here. Bring that back here. There. Like I said, I wanted a little bit less on those ones. Alright. So let's watch this thing now. I feel like that's working. And let's look at the eyes. Is there any sort of blink or anything that we have here that we can do with them? Doesn't look like it. What does this do? It's kind of a strange controller there. Back to just what was that, 1? I feel like we could maybe do a little bit of this though. Give us a little bit of movement. So let's key it there. Go down. Just to give us something. always like to play with different controllers just in case we can find something fun to do with them. Even if it's not necessarily the intended method to how to approach something, that's okay. And let's look at that follow here. So let's see. I think if we delayed it about 2 frames. As far back as we have them here, so maybe we'll just minimize that a little bit more. Just gives us a little bit of that movement here. And let's look at these ears, see if we can find something there that we like. Let's go something like that. And so we'll just kind of flick between those 2 keys. We'll add a little bit of variety here and there. Try and keep something like that. And then we'll hit it maybe a frame later or so. Let's see. Alright, that's way too much. We're not even getting that much out of it either. So let's take that rotate X and we'll minimize it quite a bit here. Yeah, let's look at it now. There we go, just so we have a little bit of give in those ears. Alright, I feel like that's working okay. So we still have a little bit of time. I don't think we have enough time to really fully animate this character, but I think we could set up like the constraints and everything for him so that we get something working here. So let's go ahead and save our file here. I think I'm going to save an alternate version just in case I need to roll back here. So I'm going to pause the stream 1 second. We'll be right back. Okay, anytime, I'm dealing with constraints or anything, I always like to save an alternate version just in case something comes up. You can always roll back to an earlier version, and I like to manually do it too. So let's go ahead and turn those controllers back on, and what I think I'm going to do is create a locator, plop it right in the middle of his crotch there, and then parent this controller here to the locator, and that locator to the main root of the horse, and that should, if we do that correctly, allow him to just follow the movement there. But it still gives us the ability to do anything we want with here by putting it on a locator. So I think that's the approach I want to take there. So let's go ahead and create a locator here. And like I said, we'll just punch that locator pretty much right in the middle of his main root here. And then we'll go Window, Outliner, Show All. We'll grab this. And we'll control click the locator and we'll parent that together. And then we'll grab the locator and we'll shift click this controller here. We'll hit P on our keyboard again to parent those together. If we did that correctly, that should mean that he's going to move along with it. Again, he's not really animated or anything yet, but just has a little bit of movement that's based off what the horse is doing. Now the other thing I want to do here, I don't believe this lance or this weaponry is parented to that hand, so let's go ahead and do something similar there. So we're going to go ahead and create a locator again and raise that up here, move it over, and we're going to plop it right smack dab in the middle of that hand. And somewhere right about this, and control click the locator, and then hit P to parent those two together, and then we'll grab the locator again, and this should be the hand controller, right? Just want to make sure. Okay, grab the locator, shift click the hand controller, and hit P again together, and if those are working, that should work like that. Okay, and let's see how we're doing with everything. Now again, remember the hands and feet are in IK, so they're not going to be moving just yet. We're just looking at the body, but I think those are all working together. And I would like to do a separate pass on the body rather than try and cram it into this one, because we're almost at an hour as it is right now. I'd like to do something just to play around. I think it'll be fun. Maybe even get a little bit of lift off of the horse as well. So we'll see. But I think that was definitely a fun one. Since I'm going to get back into this, I'm not going to do that just yet. But what I would normally do is let's turn off the controllers there and just have our horse controllers. But normally what I would do is grab everything here, go to Window, Outliner, or sorry, Graph Editor here. What am I thinking? And grab everything and just push it off a frame, so we'd still have a 1 frame difference between where we restart the cycle and where we end the cycle. Just finds, from when I watch it, it gives me a better looping, so you don't have that 2 frame hold at the beginning and end. But I'm not going to worry about that yet, because we'll get back into this file tomorrow when we animate the character on top. So it was a little bit of a longer one, but I like breaking these up into a couple parts. It also helps me have fresh eyes when I'm looking at something for the second day, rather than just doing 1 hour session and then go. Kind of like doing that a little bit better. It's more natural to how I actually animate. So I hope you guys are enjoying this. We'll get back into, like I said, I really would like to do a lip sync. I know I've been getting a lot of requests for those lately. So hopefully, if time permits, I'll have an audio clip that I can share, have a couple ideas. If you guys have, like I said, if you guys have ideas or rigs or anything that you'd like to see me play around with, I'm happy to do that. Just throw something down in the comments below on any one of the videos. I try to get back to comments at least every couple days, depending on how my workflow goes for that day. But I love you guys lots. Let's take a look back at where we started. We're looking at the beautiful work of Val Mayerik. Mayerik? I always butcher names. You should know this about me by now if you've watched any of these videos. And he said, planning and solving problems ahead of time. I try to do that as often as I can. Sometimes I just have to take a chance, and I think that's it's great to be flexible. When you can build up that repertoire of where'd that lance go? Oh well, we'll deal with that later. Of cheats of things that you can. I don't know why this is coming to me now, but we'll go ahead and talk about this real quick. They say that like 10,000 hours is mastery, but what I tend to, as I am learning and growing, 10,000 hours is just 10,000 times that you've practiced, that you've learned, so that you can pull upon excuse me, my throat's going, different, like when I'm drawing, I'll have like, oh, this is kind of a hand pose that I can pull from because it's something that I've seen before, or this is something that I've drawn something similar to this many times. So it's not about having to relearn it all, but it's just reiterating on things that you've already learned and growing from there. And I think that same thing works with animation and goes back to what Val Mayerik was saying about planning and solving problems ahead of time, is that put in those hours, put in that effort, grow, learn, read what you can, watch what you can. If you're a fan of music, go listen to other types of music as well that you maybe wouldn't be your style, but maybe you can learn something different that you can apply to your style. And sometimes it's just about taking a chance, though, too. It's just about whatever you can do, just anecdotally. The other day, I have this commission project that I was working on, and I was tired. I had already done like a 12-hour day of working or so, and I really just kind of wanted to go to bed or just put something on and just kind of zone out. I was like, okay, let's just open the file. That's all I'm going to commit myself to doing, is just open the file. And then I said, okay, so I got everything, opened it back up, And just in those process of doing it, it's like, well, let's try just this one little thing. Okay, well, I can touch this up too. That wouldn't take too long. And before I know it, I spent another hour or so working on a commission that I was doing. So sometimes it's just about getting yourself to that point where you can sit down and you can do some work. So I urge you guys to do that. I hope you're taking another step in your journey towards mastering whatever medium is that you're passionate about. I love you guys lots. You're amazing. Sorry about the mess. We'll get a better setup here, but hopefully got to figure out the audio a little bit better. I know there's a little bit of a hum, but I got to have a computer running while I'm doing this. And it's got to be able to have its fans on so we can get some good frame rates and everything too. If you guys have suggestions or anything, definitely throw me anything down in the comments down below. But I love you guys lots. I'm getting too rambly. It's been a long day, so we'll wrap it up. Thanks for all the likes and subscribes. You guys are amazing. I love you lots, and we will see you for some more animation when I can find the button here tomorrow.